Hello and welcome to the quick video answering a lot of the common questions that I've had about this thing here. Now this is the ZOHD Copilot Lite. Now I did a video a couple of weeks ago about this, talking about it, and had lots of questions, which was brilliant. A lot of the questions were repeated and people were struggling to find the answers that I was given again and again. So what I'm going to do is put them all in this video. So if you're interested in this thing or its companion product, actually there's something called the VC400, which is the little camera that can go along with it, then hopefully this will answer everything. I need to say a big thank you to the team at ZOHD as well. They have also fact-checked this video so that I'm giving you the right answers, because initially it's all based on my experience with the product, but there was a couple of things I wanted to double check that I hadn't overlooked. So without any more ado, let's crack on with the questions. First question, can I use this for multirotors or anything apart from fixed wings? And the answer is no. This is dedicated for fixed wings and is an evolution of the original ZOHD stabilizer that you get inside planes like the Dart and things like that. Now you can obviously set it up for VTOL, traditional plane or flying wing, and that's available through the menu systems as I showed in that last video. I'll put a link down below to the original review of the Copilot if you're interested. But if you want something for multirotors or something else, then look elsewhere. Second question I got was, why doesn't it have an on-screen display? It's not designed to have an OSD, and it's more for those pilots who want that extra bit of protection. And for those times when you fly FPV, all you're really interested in for a lot of the time is going to be your battery voltage and how long you've been flying as well. And the VC400 does that, but so does lots of other systems, including a lot of the runcam cameras that are kicking around at the moment. If you want full on-screen displays and those kind of things, then your best bet is look at things like the Arduplane and the iNav series on the channel. This isn't aimed at those people who are quite happy to spend an evening or two working through the setting up and doing little changes and tweaks in CLI commands and going through configuration software. This is designed to be very simple, plug and play. So if you're a fixed wing pilot and you would like GPS return to home features and stabilization, but you don't want to have to read a big manual back to front and spend a week figuring everything out, this is relatively straightforward to set up and install. Next question I got was, well, it's called the Copilot Lite. That means there's going to be a full-size Copilot, isn't there? I had to ask ZOHD about that. The official response, possibly yes, all depending on the popularity of this unit, but not in the immediate future. So if you're holding on for the next revision, I guess they're going to wait and see how many of these Copilot Lites sell first. Next question that ZOHD have had a lot as well is, can it work with my expensive Warbird or EDF plane? And that's exactly the kind of planes that this thing was designed for. So if you are a line of sight pilot and you want that extra peace of mind that you have a return to home functionality, then this would work perfectly for that. And the ability to adjust the gains via the rotating pots make it relatively easy to understand and to set up. Again, for those pilots that haven't spent the last 3 or 4 years playing around with things like Betaflight and iNav. Next question, can you add an on-screen display? Not to this individual system, you'd have to have something alongside. But again, if on-screen displays are your big thing, I'll show you the VC400 at the end of this list. But if that's not enough for you, then you're going to have to look at a much more complicated system to set up, and that might be more up your street. Lots of questions around return to home and how that actually happens. Now, I've done some more testings since the video, so thank you for all of these questions about return to home. There are 2 settings on the module. One for return to home, where it will just, surprise, surprise, turn around, climb to the preset altitude and fly back to you, and then circle over your head and do that until the battery gives up. Or you can set it for a geofence, either 100 to 300 meters, and when it hits that geofence, it initiates a return to home. But in terms of failsafe, your best way of setting a failsafe is to do it on the receiver. So when the radio loses contact with the receiver in the model, it sets the mode channel onto the position that's going to initiate a return to home. Playing here and unplugging cables and things doesn't force the Copilot Lite to automatically initiate return to home, but hopefully that explains how to do it. So your best thing to do is set it up, but make sure when you set your failsafe on your receiver, it's activating return to home, and make sure you have return to home selected on that 3rd rotary control that is on the configuration board. Personally, I would have liked to have multiple modes at the same time, so you had the benefit of the geofencing along with the GPS, so you could activate them both and have them both running at the same time. So the geofence was maybe always turned on. You could have it anything up to, I don't know, 300, 400, 500 meters. Maybe we'll see that in an upgraded version of the Copilot, again, if this initial product sells well. Another big question I got was how much does it all weigh? If I just quickly weigh each of the components, the configuration board is 2.8 grams, the main unit itself is bang on 9 grams, so it's the same weight as a servo, and the last one is the GPS unit, which is 6.1 grams. So there's another couple of grams in there as well for the cable to go between the configuration unit and also the cable from the GPS, but it isn't huge. But if you're building an ultralight, you might want to unplug the configuration board and its associated cable. That doesn't need to be plugged in all the time. You can dump that weight if it's super lightweight models that you want. Another common question I got was, does it support S-Bus receivers? You saw in the setup video that I configured mine with S-Bus, and it also has the cable included in the box for PWM. If it's not an S-Bus or a PWM capable receiver, then the answer is no, you can't use it. If you're going to try and use something like a Spectrum satellite receiver or want that kind of support, isn't in the Copilot Lite, so you're going to have to find an S-Bus out or a PWM out that will give you the 5 or 6 controls that you need. Next common question was, can you change the return to home altitude and loiter radius? Unfortunately, you can't. That's hard coded in the Copilot Lite. The altitude to return to home is about 70 meters. That's going to clear most obstacles in the way. But if you're flying in an area that has obstacles higher, a lot higher than 70 meters, you're going to have to be aware of that. And the loiter radius around the home position, which is where it first gets the GPS lock. So be careful of that. Don't get your GPS lock and then walk out to the middle of the field and fly it, it will consider where it first got the GPS lock the home position, but it'll be between about 50 to 70 meters. Around that home position is the radius, so it's a pretty big circle. So again, be aware of that. Last one then is the VC400. I didn't talk about that in the last video. This is kind of a companion product that goes with the Copilot Lite. It's a little all-in-one FPV camera that has a JST lead on it. If you have bought any other ZOHD products over the last couple of years, you'll notice there's a little JST lead inside. Also Sonic model, I think, which is a sister company to ZOHD. A lot of those models have the JST in as well. In fact, I use the one inside the Mini AR wing to power some of the electronics for my Ardu plane build. But that means that you can just plug the JST lead from the camera VTX unit directly into that JST power supply, and you have your FPV set up. Now, the things that are a bit different about this, it has the on-screen display at the bottom. It gives you the band, the frequency, the channel you're using, and it also shows you the power, and it goes up to 400 milliwatts in reasonable increments. So you can go right down from pit mode, 0.1 milliwatt to 25, up to 200, all the way up to 400. And the other thing that's impressed me is the quality of the optics. I don't tend to find that these really small all-in-one cameras do really well. And as usual, it's not amazing in darker conditions, but if it's a sunny day and you're flying outside, you get a fantastic view. The only downside, in my humble opinion, is that the VC400 uses this big font at the bottom, and that information is there all the time. I can't find a way to get rid of it. There is times where I would actually like to have both my battery voltage shown, which is very useful indeed, and also my flight time, maybe in the corners, but only show me things like the band, frequency, and the channel and the power that I'm using when I'm actually changing stuff. Hopefully that will be updated in the future, and potentially using a slightly smaller font as well. This is a great big whacking font, and in decent goggles it can be a little bit distracting having that across the bottom. Oh, before I forget, there are two versions of the VC400. There's this one that I'm showing right now, which is the one with the dipole antenna. There's also another version that has the right-hand circular polarized antenna on top. Again, you need to be a bit careful with this. It is fragile. You don't want the lobes getting bent out of position. So do make sure that you're mounting it with a little bit of care. So with those two products together, you can add a fully featured FPV system and a nice stabilizer that has a return to home functionality relatively easily, even if you're not one of those people that likes doing lots of soldering and wiring and messing about. And the other cool thing is that with the little camera, with the the system it comes with the strap and the little foam pieces, you don't even have to potentially cut into your model to install this stuff as well, which again makes it quite handy for stuff like warbirds, where you can just stick it on temporarily while you're flying around, and then you can take it off, or you can hide the Copilot away inside the model, and you don't have to cut holes and things for GPSs. The GPS is good enough that if it's underneath the phone pointing upwards, it'll still get a good 3D lock. Thanks for watching the video and watching right to the very end. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you like the video and like what I'm doing here, then hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon too. If you really like what I'm doing, you can go the extra mile and become one of my Patreons for access to me directly for support, and also giveaways and regular updates too. If you're looking for particular content, then check out the playlist. I organise all of my videos into playlists, so if you're looking for a particular topic, you can find everything here. If it's called Introduction To, it's designed to start very simply and build on that simple introduction to teach you all about it. If it's called For Beginners, then that is really aimed at people who are brand new to that part of the hobby. You can also search on YouTube for anything that you're interested in using the search function at the top. So iNav Painless 360 will find all of my videos and even the playlist around iNav. So thanks again for watching, and happy flying.